Okay, so we're gonna finish up. We'll do a little bit of review about postmodernism, but then we'll finish up postmodernism and then go into pantheism. We probably won't get done with that. So we talked about postmodernism being culture driven. This is probably the default worldview of our society, I would think. There's no purpose in life. There's no God, no peace, no truth. It's amoral doesn't mean it's immoral. Amoral means there are no moral absolutes, and it's experiential. It's how we live. And ultimately, it leads to a life of purposeless life. There is no purpose in life, and ultimately that is leads to hopelessness, to a lack of meaning in one's life. And I mentioned that postmodernism rejects a grand narrative, a meta narrative, this idea, this story of the universe. And that very first day I showed you the meta-narrative of Christianity: creation, fall, redemption, and everything else fits along that line. And then I talked to you about deconstruction and what that means. Deconstruction is taking what has been for sometimes millennia the assumed way of life, the assumed moral code, and literally tearing it down. That's what it means to deconstruct, right? Is tearing it down. And we see this even seeping into the church. I've been thinking about this a lot lately because there are people that I know that are part of this deconstruction movement. And generally speaking, what is being deconstructed is the moral code that's written in the law. The moral, not in the law, onto our hearts. That God's moral law is written on our hearts, and I've come to believe that that desire for that deconstruction isn't coming from an idea of this is truth. It's coming from I don't want to live by it. I want to live the way the Bible says that I'm supposed to live, and so they're deconstructing it. And I don't know that there's. I haven't gotten into a deep conversation with people I know who are Christian deconstructionists, but I don't know that there's this deep or overwhelming evidence for something else. I think it's just, you know what, I want to live the way I want to live, and this isn't my way. We talked about deconstruction and how it leads into a lot of areas of life. We talked about some of these. Did we talk about the Matrix? But we didn't even get this far? Okay, I'm getting
You
this.
accidentally went to this slide.
I think you skipped it.
Wait, we left early.
Yeah, we went over.
Okay, so anybody see the Matrix? Anything know anybody of the Matrix? Okay, so tell me about the Matrix and what you see in it that's postmodern. Yep, you're on your own, sweetie. I
just basically, this dude is told to take either the red pill or the blue pill, and one pill will make him, like, aware of everything that's going on, and how it's messed up it is, and how the world is, like, kind of just, what is it? Yeah, computers. And, like, it's not real. And then the other pill will just let him go about his normal life in the simulation still. And then he takes the pill that wakes him up, and then he sees everything that's messed up and all these little things that he didn't notice before, he now notices. Yeah, he has to fight the evil, and it's like the overwhelming, all that.
So he took the pill that let him know the reality?
Yeah, the reality pill, sure. I don't know what to call it.
So what do you see of postmodernism there? Yeah, there's no real reality. There's no real reality. Yeah. What else?
they're definitely the type that when they die, it's like nothing.
Yeah, it's atheistic. Yes,
No purpose.
no purpose. What's the purpose if this is all a video game? We're just pawns in that game, right? Quite literally. Um, so yeah, I can see. I never heard that complete. I knew little bits about it, but never knew the complete story. So thank you.
Wait, what?
Yeah, I know. But I want to describe for you in my generation what families on TV look like. They look like Ward and June Cleaver, who were kind to one another, and mom stayed at home, and the husband went to work, and they had little kids, and their kids maybe messed up, like Leave It to Beaver. Beaver got in trouble sometimes, but in general, it was a loving nuclear family. You don't see that a lot. And I think Simpsons was kind of this watershed of a family that was arguing, and there was some of that in the Brady Bunch. And the Brady Bunch actually was rather.
That's ahead of its
It
time.
was ahead of its time. It was a remarriage, and we know for sure that his wife died, but she was divorced, and that was edgy.
And she took
that.
the kids and everything.
But I don't watch The Simpsons. It's way too much yelling for me. But I think that's the point of them putting The Simpsons up here. I'm not going to go there.
Is that
Same thing with South Park. I can't watch that either. Same thing.
I can't tell.
Those little bratty kids.
Right.
So what's that?
The one on the right.
I can't tell. It's too little.
Correct.
Oh.
Oh.
I'm not touching that. Okay. Dr. Kevorkian. Anybody know who Dr. Kevorkian I think was? I mean, he looked like he was 90, 20 years ago, so I don't think he's around anymore. Anybody know about Dr. Kevorkian? Nobody knows about Dr. Kevorkian. You're literally telling me you've never heard of Dr. Kevorkian. Okay. Is she going to say Dr. Kevorkian again? Yes, what? You don't? Okay. So he was a physician who was practicing physician-assisted suicide. So if someone didn't want to live, then he would give them a cocktail of drugs that would stop their heart, and they would die. I know, I see the look on your face. And he advocated for it to be legalized, and in some states, including his state I think it's Seattle, pretty much, but it is legal. So, what do you see of so both of my parents, my mother died of cancer, my father died of dementia, and both of them went into hospice care. And hospice care is different than physician-assisted suicide. Hospice care keeps you comfortable and allows nature to take its course. So at some point, both of my parents were asleep, and both died in their sleep. But they were asleep because they were given drugs to keep them asleep and to not just be asleep and be in pain, but to also take away the pain. And they both died peacefully. That's different than physician-assisted suicide. And there's debate about, okay, you've gotten this diagnosis of a terminal illness, but you're still fully functioning. Is it okay because you have a terminal illness to go ahead and kill someone? Or if you just feel the need, you don't have a terminal illness, you just don't want to live anymore. Is that okay? And the laws are different in different places. But again, this isn't something that would ever have been discussed with my parents. When my parents were raising their children, it isn't something that would have ever been acceptable. And now it has become more acceptable. You have a right. The idea is you have a right to die if you want to die. What do you see of postmodernism? Yeah. You're not the boss of me. To put it in, peaceful terms. Yeah, and nobody wants someone else to be the boss of us. We all want to live our lives on our own terms and how we want to live them. One of the hardest things for us is to yield control of our lives to something or someone else. Anything else you see there? Some hopelessness, right? There's no rules. There's no right and wrong. Anything else on Dr. Kevorkian? You'll look him up. Okay, anybody seen The Matrix? Oh, that's Pulp Fiction, not that.
I was gonna say that's not this.
Okay, are you okay? You're not on camera, so nobody will see you raising your hand saying, "Yeah, I watched this really bad movie." I have not seen it. So, what do you see? Okay, first of all, and I know something about it, but give us a brief PG explanation.
A lot of killing.
There's a whole lot of killing.
I'll just leave it there.
Life is not worth. Yeah, there's no
not much value.
value. Yeah.
Value in life is what you know.
Right. But what else is weird about the movie?
You just want me to like go.
Oh,
I can tell you a few things weird about that.
So usually in a movie, right, there's this introduction and this beginning and the story goes through to a conclusion. Pulp Fiction, the scenes are all like things that happen at the end or toward the beginning, and it's out of kilter in terms of time. How would that be postmodern? Yeah.
There's no order.
There's no order. There's no rules. There's no accepted way of doing things. You're looking at me funny. You're looking at me. You remember that now about the movie?
Yeah.
Yeah. And you have to. I think it's kind of cool to have to piece together, what happened when. I probably wouldn't be able to do that. But yeah, there's and there obviously, I mean, there's a lot of hopelessness. If they're going to kill everybody, there's a lot of hopelessness involved in that. I don't know.
Starbucks.
I don't know why.
Why is it postmodern?
Because the
Because
mermaid
we're
doesn't have
selling
any
our-
clothes on.
I can tell you
And
what it
has
says here, but it
toothpaste.
doesn't make sense to me. So
Because we sell our
there's-
souls to Starbucks.
I don't know that. What? What? No, I mean, I think maybe because of their leftward leaning ideas, but
Yes,
that's
so you might include why you beat around the bush.
okay. This is the part I wanted to get to.
But I love the artistic film.
This is the Wexler Art Museum, and these postmodern architects wanted to create a building that defied the laws of physics. And so there are walls that don't go all the way up. There are pillars that don't go all the way down. There are staircases. Yes, there are staircases that go nowhere. They're just there. And it turns out that you have to really use a lot of the laws of physics to make a building look like it. There are no laws of physics. And what's even more funny is that it had all kinds of problems because it was trying to defy the laws of physics. So here's an article that was written about, part of an article that was written about it. After the museum's completion, the building was plagued with a series of construction and design issues that tarnished its public image. Unfortunately for deconstructionists, everywhere, these flaws appear to be the result of an ambitious design with an intentional disregard for practical considerations of traditional architects, a foundational axiom of the doctrine. In 2003, the building underwent an invasive 3-year renovation only 14 years after its christening. As it approaches its 25th anniversary, that's a while ago now, next month, it seems most of these issues have been overcome. History, however, should continue to remember them in the context of this great museum as a testament to the price of translation between theory and actualization. In other words, if it's true, and you can try to bypass it, but if you're gonna jump off that diving board, you're going to go down. There's no way to avoid the laws of physics, even though they attempted to do that. Yes, other one. Probably online. I didn't put any other. I think it's the Wexler. I can look that up. Hang on. It's here. Wexner Center. Wexner Center. Wexner. The plan was to make this building look like no rules of engineering or laws of nature were adhered to the building. Yeah, and it took more of an effort to do that than it would have just to build a normal building. Let's look at these key characteristics again a little bit. There's no belief in a transcendent God. Postmodernism rejects the idea of a grand narrative, a meta-narrative. There's no belief in objective truth. There's no ultimate truth. And as Friedrich Nietzsche, who was an atheist, said, there are no facts, only interpretations. That's a very postmodern thing to say. There are no moral absolutes, only moral relativity. Each person decides his or her own standards by which to live. And those are fine. Whatever those standards are, that's fine. Absolute tolerance is a primary virtue, except tolerance of anyone who would say that there is only one way, or that there is such a thing as truth. Subjective feelings direct one's life. Postmodernism seeks soul and spirit, but it prefers the event experiential to the rational. It doesn't really, the soul and spirit part aren't really religious. It leads to a life without hope. This term nihilism, which I think I mentioned too, nihilism, everything is hopeless. There is no hope, and that's where it leads. And I told you before that Brenda Council said when she was at our church years ago, those who live in hopelessness, consequences mean nothing. And we see this all the time. We see this in the newspaper every day about something that somebody has done that is absolutely unbelievable. But if you are living in hopelessness, and so there's this idea of nihilism leads to hopelessness. So do you see these things in our culture that I'm talking about? Absolutely. It's all over. Which is why most people say that we are living in a postmodern culture. And as I told you on Friday, my parents' generation, my grandparents' generation found meaning just in living a normal life. I think now, and I think especially because of the internet, everybody wants to be the next big internet sensation. And social media has trained us. I rarely look at those videos that come past that have 500,000 views. But we have all kinds of people that are willing to get all those hits. It's almost like a hit of something else. So to get all these people look at me, see the funny thing that I put up there. My kids try to show them to me all the time. And I'm like, but I do watch some of the older ones.
I see links to TikToks on my For You page.
What?
What? TikToks of Blaine come up on my TikTok page.
Or one?
They're like about Stranger Things. Like one of them was Joyce. I can't remember. They're all silly.
I lived through the 80s. I like that part of it.
It was funny. I saw it for like the Democrats.
They weren't as cool as the 70s.
That's funny. I don't need to go famous.
I don't
even
even
see
know if I want to. So how does the postmodernist answer the 5 life questions? From where did we come? Well, there isn't a transcendent God, so the universe either created itself or nothing created the universe, and we're the result of random, impersonal, undirected forces of nature. We were primordial ooze before we became human beings, and so humanity is the result of purposeless evolutionary development over millions of years. If that doesn't give you meaning and purpose, I don't know what will. And then why is there such a mess in the world? People who advocate for universal truths, for God, for Christianity, cause the problems. And this is a common knock on Christianity, because Christianity has, in the name of Christ, done some pretty horrible things. Frankly, so has atheism. Look up Pol Pot and find out about that, or Soviet Russia, or communist China. So atheism has done some really awful things too, as has Islam. But Christians tend to be saddled with the Inquisition and Crusades and all of that stuff. None of that was what God would have them to do. And I would also submit that Christians do some of the most meaningful and important things as well. In fact, nearly all of our first colleges, including Harvard, Yale, and Princeton, were originally Christian schools. They were founded by Christians. Most of the hospitals in our country and often around the world are started by Christians. You have missionaries that are feeding the poor and clothing the naked in the name of Jesus. So Christians do a lot of good as well, but we do have a history that is sometimes checkered. But a postmodernist would blame us continuing to cause the bad in the world. And what hope do I have? There's nothing we can put our trust in. There's no reason to have hope. Everything is meaningless. Everything is accidental. There's no purposeful part of our universe. And so why would we have hope? If this is all just a glorified Monopoly game and it's all going to go back in the box, what's the purpose in that? And so there's no reason to. And they live by this sort of credo that says doubt everything, question everything. And we talked last year about how those are self-defeating statements. That I should question everything. Doubt, but I should doubt everything. So that's part of that as well. I'm going to play a clip for you. I'm going to have to pause the video because I don't want to get in trouble with YouTube. I have not seen this movie. Yeah, they're focused on themselves. What else?
We answering how was postmodernism displayed in that clip?
Yeah, what you saw in postmodernism.
He had control in a way, you know.
Okay.
Guys had control in their words.
There was no point to doing it.
Yeah,
Like
they
the right thing.
They just wanted to do whatever they wanted.
Yeah, because it's why
They were focused on
there's no reason to do differently. What were you going to say, Erin?
I was gonna say,
And there were because for those who live without hope, consequences of that. And particularly for Andrew, that was true. So I don't think we answered what happens. What is my purpose in life? So what is my purpose in life according to the postmodern person? There isn't really. Right? There's not really any purpose. But other than to question everything, be tolerant of everything. But the one thing you can't be tolerant of is those who say there's such a thing as absolute truth. Those that say there's such a thing as a God in heaven. That cannot be. That cannot be true, or that cannot be tolerated. And then what happens when I die? Postmodernism is atheistic. So if I die, I'm dead. That's it. I have no conscious after that. So any questions on that? Okay, we're just going to keep moving and do a little bit of pantheism. Pantheism is from Eastern religions, and I want to tell you the difference between polytheism and pantheism. Polytheism believes in many gods, that there are many gods. Hinduism is polytheistic. They make up gods. They have gods all over the place. Pantheism is that everything is God, or everything is a part of God. Either everything is God, so everything that exists, and some would say only living things, but some would say that whiteboard is God. Everything collectively makes up God. The other option, or the other thing people believe, is that everything is a part of God. Some say I'm God, you're God, the bookshelf is God, and some say that collectively we are all part of God. Yes.
So if they think that like we all are part God, that's equating like a leader order, like you're like the strong being higher than me. Like, do you lose respect for people because you're just as powerful, I guess, as them? Or do they still have like the standards of respect and whatever? I guess not that someone's better than you, but someone's above you, I guess.
They might delineate between roles, like I am God, just as you are God, and you're my subordinate, and I'm your teacher, maybe. But that's a really interesting question. I'm not sure. My guess is it might vary from company to company. Yeah.
Wouldn't it create a distinction between the like, well, I want to do what is good for what's good for you is good for me because we're the same. Like, wouldn't that create that mindset?
Yeah. I'm not sure where they're headed with that idea of there's no distinction between good and evil, especially with the pantheist religions that like Hinduism, where it has this element of polytheism and it's all about making the gods happy and doing what makes the gods happy and not doing the things that make the gods angry. I think it's more along the lines of amoral, that there isn't necessarily what is a moral code, other than to live at one with the universe. But yeah, I've questioned that as well, and we'll talk more about the key characteristics here in a second. And so some would believe, some pantheists, and pantheism is kind of a catch-all for a number of religions and philosophies, but some would say that this, like what I see out here, is an illusion, because there aren't. I mean, I see you're alive, and all of you, right, as separate people. That's an illusion, because in reality we are all one. We are all either part of one being, or we are all one being. Yes.
Why do they believe that illusion is a being? We're all God. At what point do we? What's the point of this piece? Why don't we just?
And why is there an illusion?
Like why
is there illusion? What caused the illusion?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't know how to answer that. I don't know how they answer that. But I do know that pantheism comes from ancient Eastern religions. And in Eastern thought is very different than Western. Eastern thought or Western thought is very ordered, and you do this, and then you do this, and then you do this. And Eastern thought is more more holistic. And so I think part of what you're saying is coming from an ancient um, worldview, an ancient way of looking at religion, which is fundamentally different from the Western. Although most of the religions, including Christianity, started in the East. But by Eastern religions, I mean more in the Asian religions. Hinduism. Yeah.
How do we get like that? Like how does a culture become like those things?
I mean, it's just come from very ancient times. Very from a long time. Yeah.
Like,
Oh.
like if we start, our kind of like Eastern culture started in the Eastern, like how do we transfer from the Eastern mindset to like or how, way back when before there was different mindset, like how would that have started there? Just like when it was super unpopulated, like one guy thought this and then everyone thinks like his family started thinking that.
Yeah, it depends on the religion, but most ancient peoples believed in some supernatural figure, that there was something beyond us. And so I think I just read an article that I read to you last year about how Nordic countries thought that when there was an eclipse, it was these two wolves, Skoll and Hati, that moved the moon or moved the sun to cause the eclipse. Because and we do tend to do this. We do tend to, try to explain things in terms we can understand, things we don't understand. It's why my mother had two imaginary friends, and been and tonsils or something like that. I think she probably just had her tonsils out. And she had these, and a lot of kids have imaginary friends. And I think there is some, some trying to figure out your world and coming up with imaginary things to try to figure out how your world. I don't know if that answers your question, but God is everything and everyone, the universe and everything in it is divine and interconnected. Only the spiritual dimension exists. So for the atheist, only the physical dimension exists. For the pantheist, only the spiritual dimension exists. And so humans are one with ultimate reality. And then truth comes through this oneness with the universe, becoming one with the universe. And we see this in our culture. That I think the iteration of this, give me just a second, the iteration of this in our culture is the universe has become God. If you give to the universe, the universe will give back to you. The universe can't give you anything. It's an inanimate object, but that's very much believed. Look it up here and I'll answer your question.